Hey everybody, welcome back to the Drop Point. Today we've got Damon Carrasco. He is the founder of LPGI, and he's a longtime IT leader in the propane industry. With more than 20 years inside a major propane organization and 3 decades in information technology, Damon has seen firsthand how technology can either strengthen operations or quietly create risk. So we're talking today about how tech in propane has evolved and what companies may be overlooking and what operators should be thinking about next. But before we jump into that, if you haven't already, please go ahead and hit subscribe to our channel so that way you can get notified every time that we have a new episode. So we've got a lot of great guests lined up for this year, and each episode is going to be packed with a lot of valuable information and industry insights that you're not going to want to miss. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So with that, let's get started. Damon, welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. We are so excited to have this chat with you. And Brian, I'm going to let you take it away.
Jackie, appreciate that. Damon, really excited to have to finally be able to sit down with you on this one. We've been trying to get this thing together for a few months now. So first off, why don't you just give us a quick tour of Damon Carrasco? Tell us about yourself, your history, and where your business is headed.
I'm here in the Midwest. I was with a major propane company for over 20 years. Had some really good insight, good experiences, worked with some great people, and retired from that here about 4 or 5 years ago. Started my own company, and it's been great. Just being able to actually get further down in the weeds with propane companies, getting to know owners and operation. It's just been great to be on that end of it. In the corporate world, I was kind of more standing back, looking in, and now just being out in the weeds and working with real people. It's been great.
Thank you. So how did you first get started in the propane industry? None of us went to school for propane, right? They don't teach it in any school. We just sort of end up here. So how did you end up in the propane space?
Long time ago, in my 20s, I was thinking about this. I was looking for a good job. I had some contractor jobs, and I ran into a really good job opportunity. Was able to land that job in the propane industry. I came in into a support role, and at first, I thought I was just going to be supporting desktops, supporting laptops. This is stuff that I had done in the past. But when I got in, I started to realize, hey, this is different. We're delivering a lifeline fuel to customers. And, my first cold season, you guys remember that saying, bleed blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. We all know what that means. It's kind of a badge of honor. You're part of the team of people that are bringing that fuel to the customer. And really the bleed blue piece of it is staying late. Everybody's staying late. If there's fuel to be delivered to heat someone's home, you do it tonight. You don't put it off until tomorrow. And so that really breeded a passion in me that still resonates to this day, helping people. I mean, part of this job is actually helping people heat their homes. And that's what keeps me going today.
All right. So from your perspective, what has been the biggest change in technology in the last 20 years?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I first started out, I learned that a lot of the businesses ran in people's heads. The driver, he knows the routes, he knows the customers really well. And, they probably did a good job of predicting when the customer is going to run out of propane. I mean, you had some of those guys driving for 25, 30 years. They knew that customer really well. And so that was more of an experience-based model, right? Where you had the employees that really knew the business really well. But the problem with that is you had a driver that knew where the tank was, knew how to get to the house, knew how to get to the location that wasn't really on a map, right? And none of that was written down. So in the last 20 years, we've had the advent of some systems, some routing systems and just technology that is holding that data. Now it's more of a data driven model where we actually have that data accessible to everyone in the office. And so we're able to make better decisions on our propane deliveries from that data.
So again, in your perspective, what is one thing that's changed operations on the technology side?
One thing that's changed operations, well, I can tell you from my experience, the routing optimization, the routing optimization and the handhelds in the past 20 years has allowed us to save money on, expenses with the bobtails, with the fuel. I remember in the company that I was with, I think the first quarter we rolled out a new routing system where we were actually following the routes and not stopping at customers' houses just to keep our relationships up. I think saved about $30 million in that first quarter that we did that. So technology really has the potential to lower costs and improve our overall delivery schedules. One thing that hasn't changed though is the responsibility of getting that propane to the customer, right? I mean, especially in the wintertime, the customer is needing that fuel. They're calling up and, you might have 50 different delivery tickets that day, but it's the ones that are running out of fuel that you need to get to. And those guys, they don't care how that propane gets to you. They don't care what system you're on. They just need that propane. And hey, guess what? The driver, that's the face of the business. So that's the person they trust to deliver the propane. And at the end of the day, uh, you know, they're trusting that driver. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing that definitely has not changed.
Yeah, I think that technology integration should be an assist to the customer's experience. It should not be a detriment, right? So, whenever you have a well rounded technology platform or good adoption, say, of tank monitors where you're able to more efficiently project customers' consumption, those are all pluses. Those are all pluses to the customer's experience. Whenever it goes too far, and it becomes a detriment, then the technology, quite honestly, doesn't matter. If the customer's experience is negative, that's their experience. It just doesn't matter after that. So, from your perspective, after working for a corporation for 20 years as an IT leader to then becoming a founder of an IT company, how has that changed and what is your vision for LPGI?
Well, one message that I'd like to get across about LPGI is I think we cater more to the independent, the smaller propane companies, the mom and pop shops. And just an example of this is, in my corporate career, I had the opportunity to participate and also run many very large projects implementing technologies that help the business. We had all the money to buy the right tools. We had all the people, all the resources to make that work. But also while I was there, I was able to be on the acquisition integrations team. And part of that was, we were bringing in small mom and pops under the big corporate umbrella. And so I would go out to those sites and do some research on their business operations, and quickly found out that they just don't operate the same way, right? They don't have all the resources and all the people. They're running lean. I mean, most of the time going out, you would see that these companies were running lean on technology and on people. You would have, in some cases, one person doing three or four different things in the office, three or four different roles. And so what you look at in that case is, from my personal experience in the corporate world, you bring those concepts down to the independents. You bring those concepts in and understand what their day-to-day operations are, and then kind of mold that technology around what they're doing. In some cases, what we've done is use an online spreadsheet, to track. That may not seem like much, but it's actually bringing the customer into the digital world, where we're getting everything organized in a spreadsheet. And then later on, that data can be used to integrate with some other system, system of choice in the future. So what do I see with LPGI? We're helping this small business, the owner, we're helping that owner to get more organized through technology and processes. And ultimately, hopefully in the future, we'll be able to offer our own tool for that.
Okay. So I got one last question, then I'm going to turn it over to Justin. He's better on the tech stuff than I am. So my question is, what are some real technical challenges that independent propane companies face today?
So with the advent of technology in the propane industry, there are several different options on what type of technology you want to implement. And I think with owners, maybe sometimes they tend to want to implement too much. Like, for example, a handheld system and a billing system at the same time might overwhelm the office staff. And so when that happens, obviously, operations slows down, and you don't want to do that. If you implement a handheld system, you got a driver out there. If it's complex, he's going to have issues. Trying to figure out. He's going to be calling the office, needing help with things. It's going to slow down operations. So ultimately, the idea here for the technology is to implement one thing at a time, get the office staff and the driver very familiar with that before you move on. Because at the end of the day, hey, they're delivering propane, they're delivering a lifeline fuel. That's their job. Their job isn't to figure out some software application. So Ultimately, if they have to do that, they're not going to use it.
Yeah. So in one of our previous interviews, Jeff Thompson, our guest, talked about making sure that you build a plan. So having a plan, if you're going to go from pen and paper and you're going to begin to integrate a CRM and you're going to have a plan to integrate, ultimately go to mobile devices or technologies and bobtails, having a plan that's structured that you can measure progress by step and then see your completion in that particular step, I think is what you're talking about, is just to have a well thought out plan, and having companies like you that can assist the independents to go through that, to develop the plan and to work their way through it. I know that we've worked with you on a couple of post acquisition close deals on integrating technology or integrating data from one operating system to the other. And it's always been a really seamless transaction. It's been very rewarding for all the parties involved. So appreciate that. Justin, you get to take over the tech stuff because you're just better at it than I.
Thanks, man. Hey, I do have one for you. So, how does technology directly impact day-to-day operations more than most operators realize?
I think if owners, if they keep in mind how intertwined everything is, like for example, we have the systems, we have the technology, but if someone fat fingers some information in there, that could delay a delivery, right? I mean, the human element can impact that as well. And there's another thing, the technology in the office is really designed to save time. There's a lot of automations in these systems that save time for the end user. And when a system goes down, they have to go back to the manual way of doing things. And that is, that's going to take some of that time away from the employee doing what they should be doing to having to support a system that's not currently working. That's one of the things that you need to focus on. Of course, you always need to have a plan B. Going back to manual tickets, you always need to be able to do that. But yeah, just understanding the impact of the systems and how they need to be working every day, or you're gonna, it's gonna affect operations.
So, if you think about with technology, you got cybersecurity, and I think everyone's concerned about cybersecurity. But how vulnerable are propane companies now, and or what should owners pay attention to?
Yeah, so propane companies are vulnerable. Even the small guys are still dealing with customer data, customer billing information. And, between you and me, there's still companies out there that are storing credit card data on site. So they are vulnerable. And what we tell our clients is just follow the basics. The first thing that you should do is get your staff aware of the risks that are out there, awareness of what the threats are. The threat actors will come at you, through phishing emails. We might still have some people that don't know what phishing emails are, or phone calls. By the way, there's some really good inexpensive training videos online that will walk them through that. Another that we recommend is frequent backups of customer data and systems. And then finally, giving employees access to what they need access to. You got to monitor that and make sure that you're not giving out too much access to the systems.
Good one.
People that follow those three basics are miles ahead. Just having their staff being aware of what the risks are, or what the threats are, is probably the most important.
Yeah, a good one. So, you've led the large IT teams, and now you're working with the independents. And how do you translate like an enterprise level practices into something practical for a small company?
Yeah, we kind of touched on this earlier. Just taking the concepts from what the big guys are doing, or the majors, and going into some of these mom and pops and just saying, "Hey, let's see what your operation looks like, and we'll try to find some low hanging fruit and see what we can do with implementing a little technology into that to maybe automate some of the processes to save your staff some time, so we can focus more on getting more customers." So yeah, I mean, that's what we do. We try to find the low hanging fruit first, and like I said before, we try to take it one step at a time, so the owner is able to implement things without overwhelming staff.
So, what do you think the future of technology in the propane space, like in 5 years, 10 years? I mean, that's a lifetime, right? In technology, but where do you kind of see the next steps? Because I mean, you're not going to get technology to pull a hose to a tank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tell me if you agree with this. So, we've been moving away from this experience-based strategy with propane to a more data-driven model. And really, I mean, you touched on it earlier. One of the things that really speaks to this is the tank monitors. Moving to, like, if a mom and pop shop out there wants to have a group of their deliveries, scheduled correctly, Adding tank monitors to keep full customers, right, is going to be that's an easy one, man. You can schedule all of your deliveries with your keep fulls, and then be ready for those 0% orders. But yeah, moving to a more anticipated strategy, where we're getting out ahead of the game by doing the things that we can ahead of time will allow us to support our customers better in the cold season. Maybe even guarantee them a delivery in 72 hours. Who knows?
Brian?
So I have one question that we generally ask just about everybody. So you guys have been talking about technology. What do you see as the impact of AI on the propane space?
Huge, probably in routing. Routing, we've already been using AI for years and a lot of the technologies, but I only see routing getting better, the tank monitor stuff. uh, AI is helping the industry, in different aspects. We use AI a lot in website stuff and marketing, and just being open to using that. One thing with AI is you never really think to use it when it could really, really do a lot for you. And just remembering to use it when you can to get those answers you need. I mean, this is kind of a dumb example, but I like morel mushroom hunting. The last 3 days I was hunting morel mushrooms, and the thought occurred to me as I'm standing out in the middle of the woods, I can't see anything in these leaves and stuff. So I picked up my phone and I took a picture of the area in front of me and I asked AI, can you see any morel mushrooms in this picture? And it actually went through. It actually went through and looked at the picture. And then of course I spent 3 hours and I found maybe four mushrooms. But last night I was talking to a buddy of mine who had been morel mushroom hunting as well. And he had taken a picture of a field of mushrooms that he had seen. And I said, well, wait a minute. I never got my AI to find a mushroom. So send me your picture. And sure enough, I asked AI to find mushrooms in his picture and it found all four mushrooms. So you would be surprised what AI can do. You just have to remember to ask.
Yeah, so that's the general response that we get. The not mushroom hunting for propane, like Justin talked about. Somebody still has to drag the hose. Somebody still has to drive the truck. Somebody still has to
Right.
load the bobtail. The savings or the integration of AI comes in Office suite platforms, in routing and scheduling, logistics-based applications, helping to be able to project delivery windows maybe better than we do today, or maybe better than, we work with a lot of independents that still use pen and paper, and they just go to the same place on the same days because, well, that's just the way we do it. There might be some avenues to be able to adopt AI to help the business perform better and save their expenses along the way, right?
And Damon, you guys also do websites and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, we do websites. We really focus on propane companies and getting them more business, but we also focus on the SEO piece, the search engine optimization, where we get that propane company website up to the top of the search list in Google.
So what are some of the other services that you guys offer?
We do data integrations, we do websites. A real important piece of online presence is your Google business profile. So we help you set up the Google business profile, and that will kind of light a fire with Google to get your business to the top of the search engine. And there's other one-off things that we do as we get in deeper into the business operations and find out, what the day-to-day operations are. There are some things that we just come up with to help with, process optimizations. And then also we identify where a tool might help in this situation. Like I had mentioned earlier, an online spreadsheet. We like to use online spreadsheets just to start getting data populated, and that data can be shared between more than one location.
So on your website design, do you guys also have the ability to build in for a store, for a customer to be able to make a payment or place an order with an individual company? Can you guys create that as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a recommended approach for online payments, and we'll set all of that up for you. We can tell you the cost behind that. And by the way, our services, we have a very affordable fee for our services when you stack that up against other companies.
So was there any other services that you guys offer that you wanted to talk about?
Another big service that we provide is project management, where we'll go in and manage a project for a larger company or a smaller company. There's skill around that and communicating progress and things of that nature. Another service is fractional CIO service, where we're going in and we're analyzing a propane company, how they're operating, what technology they're using, where they could benefit from certain technologies, and also expense savings, like expense on telephone infrastructure, for example. There's always waste in that. So identifying where we can cut costs, cut waste, and reinvest it back into the business.
Okay, well, those are two much needed tools. I can assure you of that. With some companies that we work with, there's just a better way to run the business, and I'm sure that would be a value add for them as well. So, Jackie, Justin, Damon, any final parting thoughts or questions?
I just appreciate the work you guys do. I'm happy to be a partner, and it's been a real pleasure talking to you guys today.
Yes, thank you so much, Damon. It's been great having you on our show today. Do you guys have anything else? Justin? No?
I'm good.
Okay.
Last thing
All
as
right.
usual, if you like our content, please like, share, and subscribe.
Yep. Yep. Like I said, we have a lot of great guests lined up for this year. So, just stay tuned. We've got some more great content coming. Again, Damon, thank you so much. It was great having you. And we hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.